plenty of video games have religious undertones, but it's not often that we not only get direct references to religion, but also a multitude of them coexisting and even overlapping with one another, whether through shared values or the characters you come to know in these games. The Shenmue franchise is one such gem in this regard, and here I want to look at how religion is incorporated into the lives of these characters to help make these games feel that much more believable. First, we've got Buddhism. There are many examples all throughout the franchise, mostly Chinese Buddhism, but perhaps the most well-known is the Hazuki family altar. It's a rather elaborate cabinet that includes, or can include, the Buddha statue, incense candles and pot, memorial tablets, prayer beads, lanterns, a bell, and or a calligraphic scroll. Like other altars, it's used to communicate with deceased family members, in this case Iwao. Ine-san, while not blood-related though can be considered foul family along with Fuku-san, could be seen praying at the altar on her knees, which indicates she's paying respect to him. Nozomi, Ryo's close friend and would-be girlfriend, brings Iwao's favorite flowers to the altar as a way to convey the same message and show her thoughtfulness for remembering something so intimate. Throughout the game, the player can choose to have Ryo share his progress with Iwao. He can also be seen lighting an incense candle and striking the bell before praying. It might also be worth noting that, through a particular phone call, the player can discover that Ryo and Nozomi cared for a rabbit as children. It's never stated in the game what type of rabbit it was, but the white rabbit is said to represent many things in Buddhism. In this context, we might say the rabbit means hope. While I plan to discuss Nozomi's role in depth in a future video, I will say this particular reading is very befitting of one aspect of her and Ryo's relationship. Next, we've got Shintoism. Megumi's Kitten side quest is one I want to discuss more deeply in a future video, but for now, I'll say this. Interestingly, Shinto shrines and cats are said to be a favorable combo, as cats represent care and blessing in Japanese culture. I suppose it's no wonder that Megumi would think to bring her to the Yamanose shrine as an alternative to her home when her mother forbids Megumi from adopting her. As a side note, it's possible Ryo is both Buddhist and Shintoist, which would not be surprising as many Japanese people apparently don't have issues with practicing both religions. Nozomi is definitely Shintoist, though she could be Buddhist too, as evidenced by her praying at the Yamanose shrine for Ryo's safety and giving him an omamori charm for luck and protection as he goes off to Hong Kong, which, to be fair, can also be purchased at Buddhist temples. The anime shows her believing in the kami, meaning gods in Japanese, as well. There's also the Liu Jiao shrine in Niawu served by the Miko, or shrine maiden, Shilling Ling. I know people were confused by this in Shenmue 3, as we'd normally associate this with Japanese culture, but I think there's an explanation for it. Shintoism has its roots in Chinese religions, namely Confucianism and Taoism, and Mikoism is said to have had an influence not only in China, but also Korea. During Japanese occupation in China, Shinto shrines existed before being rebuilt as Chinese temples after World War II. So it's entirely possible that, while there may be some artistic liberties taken here with regards to presentation, after all, Niawu itself is an amalgamation of several places, Shilling Ling and Liu Jiao are an example of those remnants and show in a microcosmic sense just how connected these cultures really are. Then we've got Taoism and some Confucianism. The most obvious example is Manmo Temple in Hong Kong, although Shenmue 2 depicts it in Scarlet Hills, Wanchai. Its master, Zhu Yinghong, in particular, has a library of knowledge that includes Taoist philosophies, culture, literature, and history. Aside from her, other Tai Chi practitioners the player meets in general might be considered Taoist, or even Buddhist or Confucianist, such as the one Ryo learns the Wudu from. The Wudu itself has a type of morality that it addresses called the morality of the mind, where the goal is to bring to balance both emotions and wisdom. This is tied to Wu Wei, a concept in Taoism that says we ought to peacefully accept the cycles of nature and act in accordance with it. We also see some explicit instances of yin and yang symbolism. One of them is the 8 principles, which can be found as a sign in the Hazuki dojo, and the other is Zhu Ying's pendant, one half of which is in her brother Ximing's possession. For Taoists, it's said that the yin-yang represents duality, but both sides are needed to keep the world balanced, so they work together despite their differences. I have ideas for what this could be foreshadowing for Ryo, Zhu Ying, and Ximing, but thoughts for another time. For Confucianists, it's said that the yin-yang is used to describe things as they relate to one another, the positive and negative aspects of universal forces that must keep each other in check, and are represented by the Tai Chi, whereby the Tao is the source of all living and divine entities, and Qi is the energy that essentially allows living beings to function. During the Bailu village portion of Shenmue 3, players can visit Manyuan Temple and find the statue of military general Guan Yu inside, who is said to be deified by the Taoist emperor Yizong, though is also worshipped by Buddhists and Confucianists for his exceptional service in the Civil War leading to the end of the Han Dynasty. Finally, there's Catholicism. Everyone will remember the Thousand Whites convent in Kowloon, complete with nuns, although we only see one in the game and anime, and the Virgin Mary. This is where Zhu Ying and Ximing were raised as orphans. Zhu Ying brings Ryo here to heal him after he's bested by Dongyu the first time, so it's possible she may be both Taoist and Catholic, honoring where she grew up in the latter case. The jury is out on Ximing though. In Yokosuka, one NPC you can talk to who's Catholic, attending one such all-girls high school, is Yayoi Arisgawa. Catholicism is a minority religion in Japan, but apparently tolerated all the same. We witness these religions interacting and connecting through Ryo's journey. He's willing to adopt different virtues and ways of thinking to his own life, even if he's not in the faith. And getting into contact is one of the things that keeps him present in the world around him and immersed in the lives of others. Characters like Zhu Ying are clearly tolerant and see these spaces as safe for those self-development and relationship-building moments. Will we see more religions as the series goes on? The only other major one that makes sense to me is Islam, if Chinese Kazakhs are introduced in the series. But due to censorship, it's pretty much impossible. However, there is another one I do want to discuss, but it's pure speculation on my part, which is why I didn't include it in this video. I will cover it eventually though, so stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this installment of Shenmue Specials. Be sure to let me know in the comments what other religious or philosophical examples you came across in the franchise. Let's get juicing, let's get sweaty, and let's get that Shenmue 4